Welcome! Well, I'm really excited to be doing this record mail opening with you today, as it's from a band who I've liked since I was a kid, about 10 years old really. That's when they started having major chart hits that I heard on Radio 1 on the top 40 and saw them perform on Top of the Pops, etc. The only items of their music I've ever physically owned in my own collection was back in the day, and by that I mean the 1990s when I was first collecting CDs, is one of their CD singles, which I would have sold or lost many years ago, and their first greatest hits compilation, which a friend actually taped for me onto a cassette, and that was a cassette I got a lot of use out of. I don't know why I never bought the actual album officially really, because I did listen to that greatest hits tape a lot. Their first two studio albums have been reissued on fancy coloured records, so I want to get into this. This delivery, by the way, is from Townsend Music, who are a pretty prominent seller of records, CDs, other band merch here in the UK. I think Townsend run a lot of acts' own web stores. Like, I ordered some stuff from the Oasis web store a couple of months ago, and I think the shipping label said for the return address Townsend Music, so they're involved with all that sort of thing, but this was from their site directly. It's come, as you would expect, in a 12-inch size record mailer. I'm so happy to get these. The price, I think one was around £22, the other, because it has two discs in it rather than one, was £25 or something like that. Put that invoice down for a sec. But the albums I want to show you are the debut album from the Inspiral Carpets, Life. This originally came out in 1990. That feels like it's a 1 LP set, that. This feels heavier. Their second studio album from 1991, I think this was originally. This is The Beast Inside. I'm going to get both of these open and hopefully listen to pretty sharpish as well, as I do really like the Inspiral Carpets. I like them, like I said, since I was a kid really, and I just don't know why I never really focused on collecting them more, because so many of their singles I really like, and I've got no reason to believe the albums won't be just as good as well. So they've been around sort of the Manchester alternative indie scene since the late 80s. They'd released, I think, one or two demo albums, but this was their first official studio album at the turn of the decade, 1990. The singles on here, I know, This Is How It Feels, still one of my very favourite Inspiral Carpets singles. She Comes in the Fall, that's another brilliant one. But there are more singles than that on. I only recognise a couple, but not a problem. As you can see, this has got a hype sticker on it, and I think this record is going to be gold. It is 180 gram weight as well. So I will try and get this open as carefully as I can, as I would like to conserve that hype sticker that you see on it there. So we've got a great inner sleeve that's got the band photos on, possibly a reproduction of the original inner sleeve. I honestly couldn't say, as I've never owned this album on the original LP format or indeed any other format, but I really like that. And then we can see a beautiful gold coloured record. Now, to my eyes, it's not coming up very well at all, but I'm pretty certain in editing this is going to look alright at the very least. But there you can see the gold coloured Inspiral Carpets debut album, Life. Marvellous. So happy that I've got these. Inspiral Carpets, I think they did 4 studio albums in the 1990s, then after their greatest hits that I mentioned earlier, I think they split up for quite a few years. I do hope the 3rd and 4th albums will get a reissue like this at some point. They've done the first 2, Life and The Beast Inside, so hopefully they'll do the other 2 in like some sort of fancy colour as well. We shall have to wait and see. Right, so that was Life. Now let's take a look at the inside of The Beast Inside. So let me have a look, see what singles I recognise on here. Caravan, Please Be Cruel. There again, I think they're the only 2 singles that are actually off here. There's a track called Beast Inside, which is obviously the same name as the album, but to the best of my memory, that wasn't released as a single. For the majority of the tracks on these 2 albums, I won't have heard before. Like I say, my main exposure is with the singles. Everything that came on the Greatest Hits compilation in the mid-90s, I think that came out. Doesn't look like this is a gatefold. Open it carefully so that I can conserve the hype sticker. I think this is going to look really good. It's come in 2 separate inner sleeves because it's a 2-disc set, but we only really need to see one as they're both the same colour. If they're 2 different colours, I would show you both. There we go, nice inner sleeves. Ah, now that looks really good in my light. Whereas the gold one looked a bit dull, this one, just with the light shining through it, looks really nice to my eyes, and I'm sure it's going to look good on the video as well. But yeah, purple, probably coming across maybe a little bit pinky, or it is to me right now anyway, but it still looks fantastic. And the other disc, as I say, is the same colour as this one as well. So yeah, I'm so pleased with these purchases. When I just saw them announced at a couple of different websites that I check regularly for record releases. I actually think these Inspiral Carpets albums were part of like a bundle deal at Townsend as well. I think because if you ordered them both together, you'd get probably not a lot off, maybe a couple of quid if that, but a saving's a saving. So Beast Inside and Life, 2 coloured, 1 gold, 1 purple, Inspiral Carpets Deluxe 180 gram reissues. And this is going to take me right back to the turn of the 90s and my childhood, and just being into all that Manchester stuff. You know, this was when the Stone Roses and the Happy Mondays were coming through. Inspiral Carpets never really hit the heights that the Roses and the Mondays did, but for me, I always preferred them. And I'm a Stone Roses fan, and I do like a lot of Happy Monday stuff as well, but for me, I always preferred the Inspiral Carpets. I just think Clint Boone's organ was fantastic. Tom Hingley's vocals, he had a really distinctive voice, and I think a really underrated band who I think a lot of people have probably forgot about now, but 30 years on, we've got a couple of awesome reissues here, so it's time to re-appreciate Inspiral Carpets, and I suggest you do the same. Maybe not by buying these records, although I'm sure you won't regret it if you do. If you've got a music streaming service, or just go on YouTube and look up some Inspiral Carpets, there's plenty on there. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this look at 2 Inspiral Carpets LP reissues on 180 gram coloured vinyl. I love fancy patterned and coloured records, as you know. I want to say special thanks to my wonderful subscribers and generous patrons. Please see my Facebook group link and my Patreon link, and lots of other interesting links for money off contents insurance and things like that, all down in the description text box. I'm going to go now, and what else, but I'm going to listen to my 2 new Inspiral Carpets albums. No doubt start chronologically with Life, originally from 1990, and then straight after, or at some point afterwards, move on to the second album, The Beast Inside. And I do hope that all of you will join me again next time for my next record collecting video. Cheers everyone. See ya!